Good morning, Westeros.
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle. And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got another good one on deck for you. Tyrion 5. Gentlemen, how you doing?
I mean, I feel like you're leading me there by saying it's another good one, though, right? Like, you didn't even ask me this week. Usually, I just finally figured out that was going to be the first question. And
hey, well, I wanted to change it up. Got to keep you on your toes. Got to change it up every now and again. Kyle, how you doing? How'd you like the chapter?
You know, this one I feel like is setting a lot of stuff up, right? I didn't. It was forgettable.
Yeah. TBH, I think it's two conversations, really. It's one conversation about two different things, and Nelson's like writing a book over there about this chapter.
He's allowed to like different chapters. That's fair. I'll let him have that.
He can like
I knew you guys weren't going to like this one. I just like it because there's just like a big list of names. We get all these new houses, new sigils, actual like castle names for all the houses. I love it.
It matters as much as the timeline.
It doesn't matter right now.
It matters to some people.
It might matter later.
All you need to know is who they're under. They're Dornish people. All right, write them off. Their
right
names don't matter. Their castles don't matter. Who do they fight for?
How many times has Jeff said it doesn't matter, and then later it comes out that it at least mattered a little bit?
It usually does.
Well, I mean, that's like it wouldn't be in the book if it didn't matter.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a T-shirt made that says it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get a T-shirt made with House Dalton sigil on it. Do you even know what that is? No,
doesn't matter.
Lemons on purple shield. We'll get there.
Oh, great.
Yeah. All right. So I agree with Kyle. It's a cool chapter if you kind of like if you know these characters, right? Like it's an interesting conversation.
And I would agree with you guys if I wasn't into big lists of names and houses. There's not much that goes on.
Yeah, which nobody is. So that's why when we get there, we're just gonna speed through.
Like I said, I feel like this Red Viper dude is about to fuck shit up in King's Landing, right? Like that's like the whole point of him being here is just.
That's about it.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I think the main new character is pretty cool.
The Dorn dropped a grenade in King's Landing.
Yeah.
In the what's the table?
Yep.
They dropped a viper in a rat's nest.
Yeah, but what do you call? I forget the. Joffrey's. He's got the group of
council.
The council. There you go. Holy shit. Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much what they're doing. So we'll see what happens. But this one just kind of felt like he was just roasting Tyrion for quite some time, and that was about it.
Roasting Tyrion, roasting the Lannisters. Look, kind of just anyone that wasn't Dornish, right?
I'm not here to have fun. That's pretty much what he should.
Yeah. So Jeff picked some shitty people too. So. And he knew, right?
They're not shitty. They just have a different way of life.
He just thinks he's better than everybody just because he's Dornish, right? Like,
well, I mean, he's like, you guys fucked over my family. You're gonna pay for it, which like I can get behind. The Lannisters do suck. We like Tyrion. We
I
don't
feel
like
like
the
this guy kind of sucks though too. We'll see.
We'll see. He grows into me.
He's a little different for sure.
Yeah. We start out Tyrion. He's not in the capital. He's like right outside the capital on the Kingswood side, so on the south side, which makes sense because they're coming from the south. We'll look at the map a little later.
Through the battlefield.
Is it still the Kingswood, or is it burned Kingswood?
Exactly. They're like near the border of like where it was burned to. So all near the river. It's all burned trees and stuff. It doesn't really say how far. Maybe like a couple miles or something. But yeah, they're like on the edge because it says eventually they do see the Dornish coming out from the trees. So they're like kind of on that border there. And Tyrion got with him to come because Tyrion's been sent out to meet these guys. He's like the
honor. So Jalabarjo, Lord Giles, Sir Adam, Sir Adam.
Yep. That's who we hear here.
He got like the B squad. Is really what happened, right?
Well, so we can talk about that a little bit later when Tyrion gets in because he does have a few more people with him. He has a few more people with him, so we'll talk about all the list of names all at once. Spare you guys. So, but the other two he has with him, his right and left hand, Bronn and Pod.
Yeah. And Pod's growing up. He's got a little hair on his chin.
He knows his Dornish history, that's for sure. Or his Dornish sigils, at least.
He's been studying. I don't know if he truly knows it. He's kind of second-guessing himself.
he's naming all these houses and he's not even going off the right sigils. He's going off like Braun's bad interpretation, right? Is that where we're at? We get there pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty much. So they could see the banners, but he couldn't tell because there was so many banners.
It's like it's like naming NFL logos. Like if I told you, oh, it's like a turquoise flag with some orange. Is that a fish jumping?
Dolphin.
Yeah, like come on, like it's not that hard. Like
yeah, I guess. If you're close.
it's a dark green. It's a bird flying and it's black and white. All right,
Eagles. Gotcha. Yeah, got the idea. All right, so but before we get there, Tyrion does say why he's been sent. Joffrey, why isn't the king here himself? Well,
because he's just as big a dick as the Red Viper, really, and he was gonna fuck everything up. He was gonna tell his bad, his poor taste Dornish jokes. Yeah, exactly.
He's been making fun of these people the whole time.
He's got these like, is it racist jokes? Is it like cultural jokes?
Yeah, it's kind of like
definitely
Italian jokes or Greek jokes or something, right? Like that's kind of
it's the vibe he's going for. So yeah, what was the one he said?
How many Dornishmen does it take to change a horseshoe? 9. One to put the shoe on and 8 to lift them up.
Yeah.
Pretty good. It's kind of like their age light bulb joke, I guess.
Exactly, light bulb joke. Yep. And he says he's been learning these jokes from the Tyrell men. So Kyle, why are the Tyrell men like saying these like anti-Dornish jokes?
Well, aren't they like kind of at odds down there in the south?
So they do share a border. That's just one main reason. Yeah. But the other one,
big
more
border,
recently, and we get into it a little later in this chapter, is the Tyrell son Willis, who they were trying.
Oh
to
yeah, he got crippled by this guy, right?
Exactly, in a tournament. They get into it later, so we'll get to it there. But yeah, the Viper kind of says like, me and him are chill about it. It wasn't my fault in the tourney. It was like a fair
it's their fault. It's actually your fault for putting a child into this fight. But
yeah.
So, oh my gosh, all these banners. There's way too many banners. What's going on here? Did they bring all of Dorne?
Yeah, a lot of people. We didn't expect all this.
Pretty much,
and they're also
a lot of like the lesser houses is all I was going to say. But go ahead, Joe.
I think it's like the under of the main house though. Right now,
that's what I mean. Like
lesser. I mean, it's like Winterfell bringing Greatjon and the Karstarks,
Umbers, and
exactly
Boltons.
Bolton,
Fair enough.
Manderleys, yeah.
So, but they're expecting Doran to be here, and Doran is the oldest brother, King of Dorne, right now. So he has that title,
Prince of Dorne.
Prince of Dorne.
Yep.
And he is a little bit older.
That's who was invited. Yeah. So why are they showing up in the first place? Let's get a little recap, like because it's been a while since we heard about anything like this.
He was part of the deal, right? That he got a seat on the council. Was Dorne did, right?
Exactly. He got a seat on the council.
It was with the marriage proposal.
They sent
right?
Yeah, exactly. Marriage proposal with Marcella, which originally was like, which one of these deals is real? Because he was offering Marcella to multiple people and Tommen to some people. I forget exactly who, but he was like tricking all the different people. This is the real one. And what went along with this, and why I want to bring this up, is the council seat, but also vengeance. Like that was promised justice.
Oh yeah, the mountain
was also part of the deal. Exactly.
And that was Tyrion's promise, right?
Exactly. Tyrion made this whole deal. Tywin had basically given him permission to, but it doesn't seem like Tywin had any say in it, and he wasn't consulting with Cersei. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Doran is a little bit older. He's got gout. His legs don't work very well, and he is in like a wheelchair. I don't know. He gets carried around right most of the time. That's what they're looking for here at the beginning, and they don't see
a litter.
His litter.
Yep.
Because he's old and has gout and can't walk that well. Gout seems like it's a bad thing. If you guys have ever witnessed somebody going through a gout deal,
I don't know enough about it. We have a buddy who has gout, but all I know is he can't really like drink. He can't eat like red meat.
Yeah, it's the rich man's disease. It's like liquor and like fancy meat, like red meat and fish. I think. Yeah, a surplus of it.
That's what you can't eat, or that's what gives it.
That's
to
what
you?
Like brings it on, and then.
Oh, so you got to avoid that basically afterwards. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So when they ask how many banners, Bronn says 9.
Okay.
Yep.
First one, Bronn says he sees a red sun on an orange with a spear through its back.
Sun spear.
Easy one. This is Doran's own Doran and Oberyn, who's the one that shows up. Doran's who they're expecting. Oberyn's one that shows up.
House Martell.
House Martell. This is their sigil, the one that Jeff has in his dealio.
Goat sigil.
There we go. What's next?
All right. There's a purple flag with yellow balls.
This is the lemons. Nelson was talking
House Dalt. This is the easy one. Number 2. Jeff should have known this one.
House Dalt of Lemonwood. No.
Of Lemonwood. Yep.
Next is a big black bird on yellow.
House Blackmont.
But this is one I wish I would have picked here. I didn't. If I would have known this one existed, like, come on.
The vulture with the
It's
baby.
a crazy,
Yeah, great sigil.
crazy one. It's not like the store dropping off babies. This looks like it's stealing babies.
He's taking it, man.
Yep.
So that was one that would have been up there if I would have known about it.
Yeah. Next one is a skull on a black banner.
Yep. House Manwoody.
That's a pretty dope one.
If
That
that's
looks like
what it looks
something
like,
in like Las Vegas.
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. Next one. House Corgyle of Sandstone.
3 black spiders, but they're actually scorpions.
Exactly. 3 black scorpions on red. House Corgyle. Pause here. Who do we know that's a Corgyle? I think we've only ever heard this last name once. So if anybody gets it, I'll be surprised. But we've heard it a few times. I actually told Jeff recently, so let's give Kyle a chance first, just in case Jeff was actually listening to me the other night. When I was
You think
spewing random shit.
Jeff's not going to get it? I promise you, and I'm not going to get it. So
There's no shot I was listening to what Nelson was saying.
He was the Lord Commander before Mormont.
okay.
Yeah, I never would have got
We've
that.
heard like, oh, Corgyle. I think John recently was like, the Corgyle was sending patrols out like this, but recently Mormont's been doing it like this.
Okay.
Who's next?
A red and yellow with a jagged line between.
House Uller of Hellholt. Bang.
Oh, they're
Yeah,
flames.
it's flames, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't quite understand this one until I looked up the city.
Well, he says
leader.
the flames of Hellhole. Yeah.
Yeah. The other reason why I dove so deep into this is because I don't know my Dornish houses as well as I should, so I was studying up on it like Pod was.
You didn't sit around and make these pictures, did you?
No, I didn't make these. I looked them up, but I also have a map later to show you guys.
This is the part that's not going to translate well to being a podcast, audio
Well,
podcast.
no, these will pop up. Well, yeah, the audio won't, but all the sigils will be in the Discord and
Yeah, go look them up because they're pretty sweet.
and they'll be in the
They are
YouTube.
cool.
I'll be
There are some
flashing.
cool
I'll be
ones.
flashing them in the YouTube videos as it goes to.
The next one is a pie with red and black slices.
Like, what did you guys think this one looked like? Because I was confused till I looked it up.
I just thought maybe it was like alternating triangles of the colors. It's a pie.
To me, it looks more like a roulette wheel.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they didn't have those back then, but this is what I see.
Or like an umbrella, kind of.
Yeah. So this is all. I don't know how you guys say this one too, because I'm confused on how to say this one.
Illyrion.
Illyrion, yeah.
It's like Tyrion from After the All, so I'm thinking like Alrion.
No,
Illyrian?
that's wrong.
Illyrion. That's good.
Illyrion.
Of God's grace.
Next one,
Red chicken eating a snake.
cockatrice.
but it's a cockatrice, not a chicken.
That's a dragon. That's a whole dragon. That's a whole
So I
dragon.
looked
chicken
up
head.
I looked up a cockatrice.
It's a dragon chicken.
Exactly, it's a dragon chicken. It's a wyvern chicken, dragon wyvern chicken, something like that.
wyvern, I believe. Maybe wyvern. Wyvern.
It's pretty much that's what literally what Google said was it's a dragon with a rooster head, which is pretty badass. I didn't know that was even a mythological creature. Like, what is that from? Is that Greek? I need to read more Greek mythology. It's badass.
Don't chickens share the most DNA with dinosaurs?
Which is practically a dragon.
Yeah, they're dragons.
Which means that they'd be a reptile, which means they probably wouldn't drink Danny's milk.
Are chickens reptiles?
Back to that whole conversation that I remember the argument about.
Sometimes you gotta get a. Chickens would though.
I slightly remembered the argument of if they were reptiles or not, but I forget why. But yeah, that makes sense because of Danny's milk. Okay. Last house. This sigil kind of blows.
Golden quill.
On green checks. House Jourdain.
It's not awful. They might like to write or something.
That's my
So
least
it's-
favorite, Jeff. You said not awful. I think that one's garbage.
Nah, the hand with
Yeah, it's
the
kinda
hand.
nerdy.
I'd rather have that one than the hand with the red and black spear pie. Spear. I don't know about that one.
That one's like, I would take it if that was all that was left. That's better than this.
Well, if they had roulette, maybe they're just like they have a big casino.
Well, there might be a
reason.
you don't know. There might be a reason behind that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's some sweet story.
All right, so Pod gets a little gift. Or he's gonna get a gift. He got them all right. Tyrion's like, "Oh, great job, Pod. I didn't know them all myself, but he did."
He pumped his tires a little, man. He's trying to help out a squire.
Yeah, no,
it's a good thing
I
Pod's
like
even
the I like
talking.
the confidence. I like the confidence
it's good.
builder. It's a great job.
And like you guys were saying earlier, all 9 of these houses are important. Like they're not like little no-name houses. They're like you guys were saying, kind of comparing to the North houses. I think that was a good job. Like they're like big dicks like that.
yeah, thank you. I'm just doing jobs right.
I actually said I think I might have said just so that I'm not a hypocrite. I think I said opposite, but you're right. I was wrong. These are the big
I
names.
think you did.
These are the big names, but Tyrion's group is not the big names, and that's kind of the insult here, right? It's like so,
He does try to talk them up like they're tough shit though.
Yeah, and part of we're not quite there yet, but I'll say it now. Part of the reason that they can't bring the good people is like we said, we can't bring Joffrey because
he's a dickhead. But still, that's not a great reason to not bring your king out, right? Like he can't be around fucking other kingdoms.
If you know you can't
know your personnel.
Line, then,
you got to know your personnel.
And that's kind of where the chapter ends. Tyrion's like, I can't wait till that happens because they're gonna meet eventually, and we're never gonna be able to keep them in line. So that'll be good whenever it happens. But the other reason is, so Joffrey's out off the question. Tywin could have come, probably a better idea. But Tywin maybe was suspecting that it wasn't going to be Doran walking up the King's Road, and Oberyn basically says, "I can't wait to see the Mountain and whoever gave him the orders. Like, tell your dad that." So like. Maybe Tywin saw this coming. Who knows?
He's just punting it down the road. He doesn't want to see these people.
Kevin
right now.
Yeah,
he's distraught.
He's too sad. And then the other like high people we have are the Tyrells. But like we said earlier, the Tyrells don't like sending Loras. Right? If it was like normally, if there wasn't this family feud and border dispute, sending Loras would be a great option, or even Mace himself, or Garland. But like you can't do that because they hate each other. Like the houses theoretically hate each other. So they kind of don't have anyone else.
Pod recognizes that there's no litter, and Tyrion starts to think like, damn, like Doran in here, then his gouty ass ain't walking up or riding up.
Yep.
And he's like, damn, why do I have a bad feeling about this? And this is where the big meet happens. So they we reintroduce.
Well, hold on. Before that, we get a little description of these Dornishmen. So they're carrying shields, spears. They're kind of like shields and spears people. And there's 3 types. So Tyrion has learned that there's 3 types of Dornishmen, and he learned this from Daeron the First. So this is a good time to do map time.
I mean, he's really just like the 3 types are like the 3 like where they're all from the same place, kind of, but they all settled in different regions of it, right? Like so, like the ones on the water are the salty ones. So they
So we got salty on the water. We got sandy, who are pretty much inland along the rivers. Because you can't live inland anywhere that's not near a river because it's just desert.
Yep.
And then stony, who's people in the mountain.
Right up against the reach, right? Kind of.
Yeah, so then we got Martell's down here in Sunspear. Dalt's down here in Lemonwood. Blackmont's out there in Blackmont. So you can just tell, like, Lemonwood, Martell's, right? They're both salty. Blackmont, stony. Manwoody, stony. Corgyle would be sandy. Hellholt, sandy. Ullers. Godsgrace, Aurian, sandy.
Illyrian.
Salt Shore, salty. And Jourdain, salty. Right? So we got, like, and Tyrion says, like, they're pretty all well represented. They are. We got 4 salties, 2 or 3 stony, and the rest sandies.
I know how Jeff always likes to shit on your maps and your visual aids, but like this is really put this whole into perspective, right? And
it's a good aid.
It's kind of the houses too, and how the importance. Like I said, I was unaware earlier.
Dorne's huge too. I think it's important to note Dorne's pretty fucking big.
Yeah, that's why the last map backed it out a little bit. So this is kind of where it is in relation to things we know, right? So one cool thing to note here is Davos just got made Lord of the Rainwood. Right, that's what, again, by Stannis. So not quite who are they? Is Joffrey's probably not accepting that, but like theoretically, if Stannis was in charge, Davos would be in charge of this area, and then we know about King's Landing and Storm's End.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's kind of weird to me that Storm's End is so far south. Like to see it over and over again, it's just strange to see it on these maps. But.
And then again, I guess the other thing while we're just looking at it is Highgarden is right here, right? So we had some of these Dornish guys in the mountains, and then Highgarden is Tyrells.
Tyrells,
Yep. So that's it for map time. Also, I got a little. I was going through Westeros Craft and I was like filming some of the castles. I'm not going to show you guys, but I might like while we're just talking now, I might be playing on the YouTube video some like drone type footage of some of these castles because I think it's kind of cool to like see the sandy versus the stony. They have like a very distinct type in the castles. Okay. Again, it's all Westeros Craft, so it's like a Minecrafty interpretation, and we don't really have much to go off of. But some of the castles I think are sweet. My favorite is Sandstone, but. Yeah, that's neither here nor there. Just for those of you watching.
And I just want to say each group kind of looked a little bit different, or at least dressed a little bit differently too, based off of their setting and whatnot,
the region,
kind of their environment.
What they had available,
exposure,
right? Makes
exposure
sense.
to the sun,
sun exposure, and then the stony ones looked more like not First Men, right? Or they looked. Or is it more like First Men? They look
the stony
like
one.
They looked whiter,
men.
Right? I guess, or
the ones in the mountains,
Caucasian
from the mountains,
of Caucasus,
the Red Mountains in Dorne, but close enough. Yeah, they were the white ones, the whitest of them. Yeah. Then they had what they say they had. I think they did have like first men.
And
blood
I
or
think
Amber
the other two were Roiner men. They called them
Roinar blood. Yep.
Roinar blood.
Which
so
we don't.
Before,
I don't know if we know exactly what that means yet, but Kyle, do you know what that means? Roinar blood.
Oh, I see it. Roinish blood.
Yeah. Basically, it's just different than first men and Andals.
Yeah, not really. I don't think I do. No.
Yep. So the big guy, not the big guy, but the main guy, he's coming out wearing silk, satin,
jeweled belt.
Oh, they also ride these like fancy horses, which are just made for the desert, which makes sense. Sand steeds.
Were they fancy or are they just different?
They're different. I guess different. Yeah, sand steeds. They
They're
can
a
run
little
late.
smaller. They can run further, better endurance.
They're better at running for long distances without water. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of
Not as
like
fast,
using
though.
a mule in the desert, right? Same idea. Like they just work
or
a little
camel.
better. Yeah, camel. There you go.
It's not a great war horse, but it'll get you do what it needs to do in the desert.
Yeah, and they're archers. They like to shoot arrows from their horses.
Yeah, kind of Dothraki.
Seems to be a deserty thing, right? Like the Dothrakis are in a desert.
Yep.
All right, so first one comes up in a black stallion.
The head of the Dornish column rode a black horse with a mane and tail the color of fire. He sat his saddle gracefully and wore a cloak of red silk and tunic of overlapping copper discs for armor.
Do you think they dyed it? Do you think
The
they
horse?
dyed this horse's hair? Yeah.
Maybe. I guess that's a good point. I didn't think about it.
It said red as fire.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was like
They had
just
a
like
badass
a
shape.
natural red color, like just like
I've never seen a black horse with red hair.
Yeah, neither. But these guys are like the lords of everything. I don't know enough about horses.
I don't either. I'm no equestrian.
His helm had a sun on it with the shield, had their sigil, which was the sun and spear. And Tyrion's like, oh, fuck, this guy is a Dornish prince, but he's 10 years too young. And he's like, I know what we got on our hands. And he thinks to himself, how many Dornishmen does it take to start a war? Only one. So, making up Dornish jokes himself.
Yep.
Well, yeah, because this is like Mr. Hardass, like, right? Like he's gonna be pushing buttons. Yeah,
He's a badass. What is he, a third son, Nelson?
He's the second son. There's a daughter. I mean, third
There's
son
a
if you count the
daughter.
daughter.
Right. He's a third child.
We don't quite hear this, but like daughters count in Dorne, right? And we might have heard this in passing. I feel like it's not a spoiler because Oberyn here a few times mentions like when my mother ruled in Dorne, right? Which is not normally something we would hear like
Yeah.
that a
North
woman
of
is
Dorne.
ruling. Yeah, and it's also kind of like when we meet these people in the list of names. Some of the people who are representing the houses are ladies, right?
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, my brother's not well, but I'm here. And King Joffrey sent me his best to come greet me. That's so nice of him.
Well, and he's like, I'm not just here, but I'm here to serve on the council too. Like he's like, I'm here and I'm doing everything that you thought he was gonna. It's not like I'm just here as his envoy and we're gonna get him healthy and he'll be here.
Or like for the wedding.
Yeah.
I'm here to take his seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like he's like, I'm here to fuck shit up, pretty much. Like,
And Tyrion's like, oh, fuck, this isn't going to be good. And he says, your companions are welcome. And so then he starts going through the list. Sir Diesel Dalt, Lord Tremon Gargalen, Lord Harin Uller and his brother Sir Oleg Uller, Sir Ryan Illyrian and his natural son, Sir Damon Sand, the bastard of God's grace, Lord Dagos Manwoody and his brother Sir Miles Manwoody, and his son Mors Manwoody and Dickon Manwoody. Sir Aaron Corgyle, Mariah Jourdain, heir to the Tor, Lady Lara Blackmont and her children Janessa Blackmont and Peros Blackmont. Lastly, he introduces Ilaria Sand, his own paramour, which means lover, specifically illicit or secret.
It doesn't sound that secret.
So he's
it's just his lover. He's using it as his lover. I think he's trying to be fancy.
Yeah.
Like that's a fancy way for him to say.
I didn't know the definition of it.
It's not my girlfriend. It's my paramour.
Yeah, I thought paramour had like some slyness to it, which I was like, wow, he's like completely out in the open with this. It's kind of a weird word, which is I think why I googled it. But yeah,
I think it does normally, but it doesn't have to.
yeah. And Tyrion thinks like, fuck that, she's not a good move. Like, what are we gonna do with her at the wedding? We can't put her with you, or every lady in the court's gonna be pissed. We can't put her away, or you're gonna be pissed.
She's bastard born, right? That's like the
Yep. And we know that because her last name is
big
Sand.
slight.
Ilaria Sand. Yeah. Which is like snow. Down in Dorne, they say bastards get named Sand. Up in North, they get named Snow. Right. So, yep.
Yeah. All right. Then it's Tyrion's turn.
Tyrion's turn.
Who's Tyrion got with him?
Sir Flemeth Brax, heir to Hornvale. Lord Giles Rosby. Sir Adam Marbrand, who's the commander of the City Watch. Jalabar Zoe, the Prince of the Red Flower Vale. This guy's been around, but I don't think we ever heard his title before. So there we go. Sir Harry Swift, who's Kevin's good father. Sir Marilyn Craighall, Sir Philip Foote, Sir Bronn of the Blackwater, who were both heroes from the recent battle, and his own squire, Sir Podrick Payne. And this is where, like you were saying earlier, they got a good ring to it, but really not that impressive. Like, there are a few people here, not really any lords. We got a few sirs, and they're not even that big of houses.
When Jalabar is like exiled or something, like he's here. He's not wherever his princedom is.
Exactly.
Who else is here? The commander of the city watch is kind of a joke at this point, right? Like he's
it's been like 8 different
this
people.
guy is like the seventh, eighth one. The other dude's like, yeah, this is my Kevin's father-in-law, right?
Which is like, how is that a title? Like, yeah, that's not very impressive.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and
Thanks for bringing him
Braun,
out.
like Braun is one of them here.
Yeah, who's a sellsword, pretty much.
And who probably nobody knows his name yet. Like, did the word stretch out that Bronn is now Sir Bronn of the Blackwater? Like, nobody knows. Like, who?
There's no singers writing songs about Bronn, I don't think.
Not yet.
Not yet, at least. I mean,
Yeah. So they both know, Tyrion and Oberyn both know that Tyrion's got a lesser crew. And Lady Blackmont's playing no game. She's like, all right, cool. Nice to meet you guys. Let's go. We've been on the road forever. Get me a bed. Yeah.
all right. So they start riding. They ride up, and we just get, like, the best part about the Tyrion chapters is, especially when he's with someone that's witty too, is you just get some, like, witty conversation, right? Like, Oberyn's basically coming at Tyrion for the first, like, I don't know, 5 lines of conversation, and Tyrion just kind of takes it on the chin, like being cordial, but like witty, like with a witty comeback. Like, hey, I get what you're doing. You're starting to piss me off, but like, I'm not gonna push it past you knowing that I'm pissed
It feels like Tyrion's on the other side of this for once, right? Like, and normally he's kind of doing this to his brother and his sister, right? And not his brother, Joffrey, and
anybody, pretty much.
Yeah. So like
he's
always
right,
doing
his
this.
job.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So now here he is. He has to keep his mouth shut because he's on the clock, and this dude is just destroying him.
Yeah.
Right?
His job is go be polite to the guests. So yeah, at first, like you're saying, like he's kind of taking it on the chin. He has like he's giving comebacks, but they're all self-deprecating. He's like making fun of himself, which like I think is a good way to play off the situation. But eventually, it just becomes too much, and he starts firing back a little bit. But before we actually jump into the conversation, Tyrion thinks to himself like. Starts thinking about Oberyn's reputation. He's like, "Oh,
Red
fuck,
Viper Dorn."
Yeah.
What in the 7 hells am I supposed to do with him?
So why is he called the Red Viper? That's the first thing we get into. Where did he get this nickname?
Well, the first thing he did was he was sleeping with Lord Euron Wood's paramour, and he was a pretty big dude with a short temper, and he then fought him in a duel.
Yeah, but Oberyn was young. He was no more than 16, so they only fought to first blood. They both took first blood.
I think it was just because he was the prince, right?
I think, and his age. I thought it said.
Youth and high birth, both.
But yeah, so they only fight to first blood. They both take blood though. Oberyn gets better, the other guy doesn't, and the assumption was Oberyn was using some poison on his sword or spear or whatever.
Kind of a soft move.
Well, I think it's an assumption too. Like, what if the guy just like it's one of those things where
maybe cut a little bit deeper.
I mean, obviously it makes sense because we were about to learn what else he did, and it was like, go study poisons here, go study poisons there. But to me, like, it makes me wonder, like, did he actually poison him, and then just like happened to be interested, or like maybe the guy just like got infected?
I bet he did.
Got bad
I bet he
I think
you're right. I mean, this is the time when just random shit could happen, but this seems
not very honorable for sure.
I guess the only reason I think that is because later his other like combat incident with the Willis thing, he's basically like very defensive about. Yeah, Tyrion doesn't call him on this one. Tyrion's only thinking about this, but the one Tyrion calls him on, he's like, dude, it was a fair thing. Who knows if Tyrion called him on this? Maybe he was like, dude, he just got infected. Yeah. What do you want me to do about it?
Well, so that was 16.
Yeah,
now 20.
I think it's more likely than not he did poison him. I'm not saying that. I just think
maybe he really liked that paramour.
I've been reading these books too many times. I think about it every which way.
Anyway, that was a long ass time ago.
24 years.
So now he's almost 40,
maybe even
or
more.
he is 40. He had gone around learning the poisoner's trade and potentially even darker stuff, if you could believe the rumors. Again, though, this is kind of back to like what you like to talk about. It's a
unreliable narrator.
Unreliable narrator. Yeah.
Yep.
And so he's hearing it from somebody who's hearing rumors essentially. So
yeah, obviously he went to Essos. That's probably easy to account for. How does anybody how are we getting who's spreading these rumors of what he did? How did we know exactly what he did was in essence?
Yeah.
Some of it, like they say he had a sellsword company and he was wrote a sellsword company. Some of that
started his Macer's chain. He's done a lot of crazy stuff.
I think that's pretty cool that he started a Macer's chain.
6 links of a Macer's chain too. Like I thought we said at one point, like how many links do you need? I say just as many as it takes to make a necklace out of it. Right?
I don't know if that's true. I feel like there was a Maester, and I probably show, but like he had like one chain on his, like he had it like on his collar. It wasn't even a chain.
The only reason I think of what I think is because I think we've heard of Macers who have like chokers, and then we have Macers who have like big old chains. Sure. And I feel like it's just like you could get a choker and be like, all right, I'm out, but you probably want to get it hanging a little low just for comfort's sake. But yeah,
I don't know. Chokers were in the 90s, and they're making a comeback.
They're back, man.
You got to go back to the Citadel when chokers go out of style. All right. He wrote to the sellsword group called the Second Sons, which is funny because he's a second son, in the Disputed Lands, which again is just right across the sea from Dorne, near Lys, Myr, and Tyros. It's the Disputed Lands they're always fighting over. He slept with men and women both. He had bastard girls all over Dorne called the Sand Snakes, but he had no sons. And then, of course, there was the Willis Tyrell thing. And he's like, this is the worst person to have at a Tyrell wedding. And Josh, we're about to have a Tyrell wedding. So,
and here he is. So, yeah, I mean, that'll be fun. And that was kind of where I was at the beginning of this. Like, the chapter itself was kind of a lot of backstory, but it's kind of, this guy is going to be interesting. He's just like the walking conflict, right? That's what he is. Yeah. So.
George was like, there's not enough mixing up in King's Landing here. What can we do to spice things up? I know. Bang. Red Viper.
You put it all in this one character for now, it seems. All right, so the first one ends up being like, oh, but I have met you before, Tyrion.
Oh, yeah.
And we get a little history of, not Doran. What the hell's his name?
I think it was just Ilya. Just him and Ilya. Oberyn and Ilya. Doran wasn't there. They don't say where he was. Oberyn and Ilya, who's his sister, went to... They basically... It seems like they're going around different places because he says they're in Old Town when they hear about his birth.
Yeah.
But yeah, they came
were
to
they
visit
stopping
Castle
by
Rock.
to like give condolences, or were they like... Was it a planned stop? It was kind of...
Well, you said like, they wanted to see the monster, right?
Yeah, I'm saying, was it already a planned trip and she happened to be pregnant and then, oh wow, it actually ended up being this monster baby? Or like, did she die giving birth and they're like, oh, we got to go visit her to give condolences type of thing?
Maybe. I've always thought about it as like they planned on going around like house to house, kind like, I don't know if we've ever heard about this, but we hear about it about the Targaryens, and I don't know if it's important, but like when there was an heir, like the heir to the throne would be like sent around to like some of the major, like go to Winterfell and meet who's lord there, go to like Highgarden, and just kind of like to know the other high lords, like
and you're checking up on your kingdom, right? You're like, hey, we're not that far, we're here.
So again, maybe that's a bad thought by me, because like why would the Dornish be doing that to like in like the Lannisters? Like they're not like their vassals. It just kind of maybe they're setting up like a marriage alliance or something.
Yeah, well, it's just kind of exactly. It's just goodwill and peacekeeping missions, and
But to Jeff's point, it's probably more likely that they were just in Old Town, heard about it, and maybe went to send condolences.
Okay,
like went to do condolences.
I don't know either way. That was kind of my thought. Like they didn't say that they were visiting other people, right? It was, I guess maybe whoever's in Old Town, but.
Yeah, and also here's the thing that they also slipped by. The people who went to visit was like his mother and the prince consort and her consort, his mother's consort, which again shows like it's not that just like the single mother is ruling because the dad's gone. Like in Dorne, the woman just rules if that's the lineage. Again, we don't know the lineage that well, but I even looked it up and we don't know more about Oberyn's mother. It just says his mother, and I think this is the only mention of her. But it's interesting that she has a consort, which means that she's the one ruling. But yeah, so also we're going back in time back here. So this is about the time of that joust where he poisoned that guy, because he says he's 15-ish, Ilya's 16-ish, Jaime and Cersei are 9-ish, and Tyrion is a newborn. So it's about the same time back then. They're kids, and Tyrion's like, well, you guys must have came at a bad time if it was when I was born, because when I was born is when my mom died.
My mom died, and my dad probably wasn't that happy. Yeah, but Cersei seems to be pretty excited to show off Tyrion.
Yeah, but before we get there, I think what you just said is really interesting. Tywin wasn't happy. He like kind of goes into this, and it's like, as far as we know, Tywin is like Stonewall, hard ass, no emotions, and it's like the opposite of what we hear about him with his wife.
Maybe this was the straw that broke the camel's back.
I don't know, though. I think it was just saying how serious she was to him, right? Or how important she was to him.
So I think there's a few things that even before that, Tyrion says, like, in those days, it was said that Tywin ruled the Seven Kingdoms, but Joanna ruled Tywin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like,
that's more than just like he was super in love with her. That seems like she put him in his. To me, I take that as like she put him in his place. Like, no, I'm putting my foot down.
Well,
type
it's just
thing.
balance. It's a reality check every now and again. You need that.
I mean, I love it. I would have loved to see it because we've never seen anybody put their foot down on Tywin. That's what Tywin does. Is Tywin puts his foot down on other people.
Well, exactly, and I think that's the whole point of that, right? Is like he was so fucked up, and that's like the gravity of it is like nobody else could do that to him.
It's been 27 years of him not getting his shit checked by his wife.
Anybody for real, yeah.
Right, yeah.
The other quote I liked there was what Tyrion's favorite uncle Gary told him. He was not the same man after she died. The best part of him died with her. So kind of like what you guys are saying, like he needed that. So
absolutely.
We get a little bit of history. I think we've heard about him a little bit, but Tyrion's favorite uncle, Jerry, was the youngest of the four. So Tyrion, I also don't know if we ever knew exactly how many brothers he had.
See the one that got lost at sea?
Yeah, and exactly. He's gone lost beyond the seas. Is like kind of what
is this? Again. Didn't we hear about somebody that went to try and get their Valyrian steel back or something? Or is that not these people?
I think that might have been that cat.
That makes sense because we've only heard of this guy one other time, and it was in the last chapter. My notes say Tyrion thinks that the Lannisters haven't had a Valyrian steel sword because they have the Valyrian steel swords in the last chapter. Since King Tommen II lost it on his fool's quest to Valyria, he thinks Garyon never returned from going to look for it.
Yeah.
Yep. So good call, Kyle.
Boom.
So there we go.
Yeah. All right. So they show up to see this monster baby. Can I summarize this story?
Yeah, do it, man.
I just wanted to get the description of what they said the baby was supposed to look like. Cersei promised Elia to show you to us the day before we were sail whilst my mother and your father were closeted together. She and Jaime took us down to your nursery. Your wet nurse tried to send us off, but your sister was having none of that. He's mine, she said, and you're just a milk cow. You can't tell me what to do. Be quiet, or I'll have my father cut your tongue out. A cow doesn't need a tongue, only udders. Alright, Cersei undid the swaddling clothes to give us a better look. You did have one evil eye and some black fuzz on your scalp. Perhaps your head was larger than most, but there was no tail, no beard, neither teeth nor claws, and nothing between your legs but a tiny pink cock. And Cersei played Purple Nurple with that so loud that he had to scream.
Grip it and twist it, baby. Give him the old dick twist. Did you ever see that video?
Twist
Grab
his dick.
him by the dick and twist it. Yeah. Twist his dick.
Did you want is that good, Nelson, or what?
I'm trying to find where you're at. You jumped ahead a lot for sure. Like, we didn't talk about what Doran said he was supposed to look like.
Maybe I skipped that.
So when they had heard about him, Doran hears like, oh, he was born a monster. And he hears he was born a monster because Tywin was too full of himself and the gods were like punishing him. The gods were punishing Tywin for like getting too high of himself.
This is what they said he was supposed to look like. Since you were said to have one, a stiff curly tail like a swine's, your head was monstrous huge, we heard, half again the size of your body, and you had been born with thick black hair and a beard besides, and an evil eye and lion's claws. Your teeth were so long that you could not close your mouth, and between your legs were a girl's privates as well as a boy's, and that would make it easier to... What do you say? Men could fuck themselves.
Yeah, men could fuck themselves.
But I think the important part of this is just kind of the Dornish people have a different kind of outlook on life, right? They don't care about being bastard born. They're more open sexually. And even here, like, Tyrion is observed as a monster still. Like, oh, he's a dwarf, like he's less of a person. And Oberyn, as a 15-year-old, was like, all right, it's just a baby. Like, all right, he looks a little bit different.
You're an ugly baby for sure, but yeah, you're just a baby. Like, you were anywhere near what they were saying you were. Yeah. And it's still like a weird, like, first convo.
Yeah, I mean, like, he definitely just unloads on him.
I think it's to try to show him a little bit of respect, though. Like, hey, all these people think you're a monster.
It's such a strange story to tell him. And then Cersei grabbed you by the dick and gave it a twist, and you scream like a bitch. And like,
he didn't spare any details, that's for sure. But at the end, like I'm saying, the meaning of it, like, oh yeah, they all thought you were a monster. I just saw you as a baby. Like, maybe I'm looking at you as a person. I don't think he likes him because he's still putting him under the Lannister umbrella of you guys killed my sister and I need revenge. But
that's fair.
Yeah. There's a few funny jokes Tyrion has in there, and the one is Cersei says that he used to had a really loud voice. He would cry all night, and the only thing that ever shut him up was a teat. And he's like, "Oh, I'm still the same," and that gets Oberyn to chuckle.
He says, "I'd rather die with a tit in my hand than a sword," or something like that.
That's what Oberyn says. Oberyn says that once Lord Gargalen told him that he hoped to die with a sword in hand, and Oberyn replied that he had hoped to go with a breast in his, which we circle back to later. But I think it's funny that Oberyn says this here because there's a line that I don't think's in the books at all that Tyrion says. It's very similar to this multiple times throughout the show. Right, where pretty much anytime someone says something like, "Oh, I want to die honorable," or like, "I want to die with a sword in hand," Tyrion always says, "I want to die at the age of 80 in my own bed with a belly full of wine and a girl's mouth around my cock," which is like, I think the show writers pretty much took this Oberyn quote and spruced it up and gave it to Tyrion and just dropped it in like every 4 episodes. But it's pretty funny quote. He says it so a lot that in the last season, Tyrion goes to say it and other characters like finish the sentence for him. Yeah, so.
Like that's such a weird thing to.
This is less over the top about it, but yeah. So
I can't imagine many ways that could come up naturally in a conversation, like where that's just
Tyrion fits it in whenever possible.
How is that his catchphrase? But anyway,
and you're like, "Oh, do you want to die? Do you want to die doing that?" And like, "No, I'd rather die in my bed at 80 with a."
Yeah.
Right,
the first time I think is actually when he's with the Mountain Clansmen. When like the Mountain Clansmen come on him and Bronn when they're on the way out from the Eyrie, and they're like, "How do you want to die, half man?" And he's like, "At the age of 80, in my own bed, with a belly full of wine and a girl's mouth around my cock," which is like, it fits there. It's a pretty good line for that situation. But yeah, he fits it in a bunch of other after that. But yeah, so going on, kind of to Jeff's point, what Oberyn says then is like, yeah, Elia even was making like the noise that girls make when they see like a puppy or a baby. So like, yeah, you were just like a cute little baby. You were a poor monster, and Cersei was like, yeah, well, he killed my mother, and he's gonna die soon too. And he's supposed to die already. Yeah.
And Tyrion's like, damn, why is he telling me this story? Like, what's he trying to get from me? Is he trying to make me mad, or what's this test that he's putting on me?
Was he just twisting my cock like Cersei did? And he tells Oberyn, make sure to tell Tywin that story, especially the part about my tail, because he had it cut off. I did have one, but Tywin had it cut off. And that made Oberyn laugh again, and he's like, "You're more amusing. You've grown more amusing since last we met." And Tyrion says, "Yeah, but I was supposed to grow taller." Tyrion has it's like self-deprecating. He's not. He's trying to just like be cordial with Oberyn still, while Oberyn's telling this horrible story about him. Yeah,
Tyrion's funny. So then I don't know. There was a quick little thing about Tyrion putting a tax. We remember Tyrion's the master of coin right now, right? And I don't think we've ever heard of him doing this, but he put a tax on. No,
this is the first policy of Tyrion's we've heard of.
And again, Tyrion even says it was Tywin's idea, but he's getting blamed for it as the master of coin.
The dwarf's penny or something. The imps, what was it?
Exactly, a dwarf's penny. A penny per act. And Oberyn's like, well, I'll be sure to keep my purse full.
Oberyn said that, right?
Yeah, Oberyn says that, and Tyrion's like, what about your paramour that you just introduced me to?
We like to do some different things here. We haven't been with the blonde girl yet.
Well, they're using the penny to pay for the wedding. Like that's like the whole point. Is like they're spending way too much fucking money on this wedding.
Tyrion doesn't. He thinks that, but he doesn't say that. He says it's to increase the
They're
city's
going to need
morale.
a lot of pennies. There's 77 courses at this wedding.
Yeah. Again, I think Tyrion doesn't want to say that out loud though, because he doesn't want to show off that they don't have enough money to pay for the wedding. Doesn't want to advertise that.
That's what I'm saying though.
Yeah. So Oberyn's like, I'm going to have my own pennies because even a prince must pay his taxes. And Tyrion asks, like, why would you go whoring like you at the paramour? And have you gotten tired of your paramour is what Oberyn says. And like Jeff said, never. We have some other taste. We want the blonde girl.
Yep. Tyrion thinks he's a man wedded now.
Well, yeah, because Oberyn's like, do you know one? Like, do you know of a good little whore around town?
Yeah. Who do you got a blonde girl?
And Tyrion's like, well, I can't do that anymore.
One woman kind of guy.
Yeah. And he thinks to himself, just for us, not yet wedded, not yet bedded.
Yeah.
Doesn't say it, but yeah. He's like, I can't frequent whores anymore, and again, unless I want to see them hanged. I think it's like a cool quote where it's like a good quote altogether, but like he only says half of it. I'm a man wedded, though not yet bedded. I no longer frequent whores unless I want to see them hanged.
Yeah, I mean,
so he's like only said.
Well, I mean, the last couple that he's seen exactly have only ended up poorly. So he's at least understood his place, and it does make you wonder what happened to Shay, right? Like, where is she at? What's she doing right now? We know she had higher aspirations, but.
She was trying to get in the wedding.
Yeah.
She was talking to Simon. Last we saw, I don't know if we've seen Shay since he told Bronn to go take care of Simon.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a recent chapter. Yeah. So Oberyn abruptly changed the subject, and he's like, I heard there's supposed to be 77 courses at the wedding. And Tyrion's like, why, are you hungry? And he's like, I've hungered for a long time.
I'm hungry.
Not for food, for justice. And Tyrion's like, oh, fuck, I should have realized.
What justice do you speak of?
So I think this is the only line. I looked through all my notes of trying to find a line of when Tyrion like explicitly laid out the offer. All I can find is his sister's killer, a council seat, some castles on the marches.
His sister's killer.
Yeah, so his sister's killer is what we're talking about here for the justice. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Which is
doesn't he go into it a little bit too?
Yeah, he talks about
Oberyn goes into it.
Like
here,
Oberyn goes into it, right?
Exactly. I was trying to remember in the past exactly when we heard, like we knew about the council seat, we knew about justice.
Oh, so it was just in passing. It was one little sentence in the last 3 books. So
exactly, we had heard vengeance in a council seat, but I don't think this was the most specific we ever got, and it was in Tyrion 5, Clash of Kings. I'm sure he's talking to Cersei probably, and she's probably saying it's too much. Like Tyrion's probably saying this is what I gave him, and Cersei's like too much or something. Like
probably,
that. But yeah, moving on.
But he also, I think if you remember, he was like, oh, I want to see what my dad does with his mad dog, right? Maybe
watch
maybe
him squirm or something like that, or we'll just lose the mad dog. Who cares about him? Give up, because who cares? Like, just give up Gregor. Like, nobody cares. Like, he's useful, but like not that useful. Just give another person a big army, and they'll get pretty much the same thing done.
There's always another mad dog.
Exactly. Yeah. So Oberyn starts like by talking about like the justice he's gonna get. He says, "As children, me and my sister were very close, like Jaime and Cersei." And Tyrion's like,
I hope not.
And he's like, I want, basically, which is implying I love my sister. She died. I want my sister's killer, like you promised. And Tyrion says, we have wars and weddings have kept us busy. We haven't had time to look in these like 16-year-old murders, no matter how bad they were. He's like, of course, once you guys help us out and we take care of the wars, we'll have a lot more time on our hands. And Oberyn cuts him off saying, Dwarf, spare me your Lannister lies.
Dwarf,
said the Red Viper in a tone grown markedly less cordial.
Spare me your Lannister lies. Is it sheep you take us for, or fools? My brother is not a bloodthirsty man, but neither has he been asleep for 16 years. Jon Arryn came to Sunspear the year after Robert took the throne, and you can be sure that he was questioned closely. Him and 100 more. I did not come for some mummer's show of an inquiry. I came for justice for Elia and her children, and I will have it, starting with this lummox Gregor Clegane, but not, I think, ending there. Before he dies, the enormity that rides will tell me whence came his orders. Please assure your Lord Father of that.
He smiled.
An old Septon once claimed I was living proof of the goodness of the gods. Do you know why that is, Imp?
No.
Tyrion admitted wearily.
Why? If the gods were cruel, and they would have made me my mother's firstborn, and Doran her third. I am a bloodthirsty man, you see, and it is me you must contend with now, not my patient, prudent, and gouty brother.
Yep. So I think that's just like what Jeff just read is pretty much the summary of the chapper. Like,
yeah, exactly.
We didn't get who we wanted, and now
you got the fucking tip of the spear here, baby. Like I'm here to mess things up.
And
I've
maybe
said that
there's a little
now.
poison on it.
Like he was sent here to send a message and to fuck shit up.
Yeah. So on that, so Oberyn has become pretty like blatant, and Tyrion, this is where I think he kind of drops his politeness
power
a little
bomb.
bit too.
Like, hey, slow down there, Oberyn. Like, you see all those people in King's Landing? You see all the men we have, the gold cloaks. Yeah. You know that family, the Tyrells, that hate you? I'm like, oh yes, I do know the Tyrells very, very well. Me and Willis are pen pals.
So this is, I think, the first time we got numbers on King's Landing. Tyrion says 5,000 gold cloaks, 20,000 Lannisters, and
there's a lot of people.
70,000 roses. So they got like 100K army wise. Yeah. He says it's like
plus a million people.
That's so crazy, right? Like, because the North had nowhere near that with all of their people.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, King's Landing's a massive city. Yeah,
massive army too now with the two families combined.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, is the army sizes do not compare.
Yeah.
And then think about Stannis on fucking Dragonstone with like
he's got like 10 people,
200.
Yeah. So when Tyrion's going off, he says we have 50 to 70,000 roses, and Oberyn says back in the old days of Dorne, before they wed Daeron, they used to say that all flowers bow before the sun,
which is Loras, or not Loras, but the Tyrells.
Exactly. Just basically used to say before we were part of the Seven Kingdoms, we used to just basically suck our dicks. We're better than you guys, just straight up. We have heard of Daeron before in in Song of Ice and Fire, so I'm going to bring this quote up. I went back and found this one too. This is from Jon 6, Game of Thrones. So his father was Daeron Targaryen, the second of his name, who brought Dorne into the realm. Part of the pact he had was to wed a Dornish princess. She gave him 4 sons. Aemon's father, Maekar, was the youngest of those, and Aemon was his 3rd son.
Isn't this more Dunk and Egg?
This is from Jon. This is saying that Aemon's grandfather was Daeron the second, who's the one who took over Dorne.
Oh. And you said that was...
So we've heard that and he didn't really take over Dorne. He just brought them into the Seven Kingdoms. So
Did you say that was Fire and Blood timeline? I thought that was... It sounded more like...
No, this was from Jon 6. This is Jon 6, Game of Thrones.
Song of Ice and
That quote
Fire.
was from Jon 6, Game of Thrones. We were talking about Aemon's history with Lord Mormont.
I was just thinking Daeron was the guy from fucking Dunk and Egg, right? I mean, they reused all the names, so maybe I'm just confused.
Daeron might have been king in the first Dunk and Egg. That makes sense, because Maekar's like Baelor's heir. Baelor is the first son in the same line as Maekar, and this guy says Maekar. This guy's Maekar's dad. So
okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah. So this guy was probably king during Dunk and Egg. Good call, Jeff.
Thank you. I'll dust my shoulders off.
So yeah, just want to, you guys know I like the history, so I brought that up. So Oberyn says, yeah, we're going to trample the roses, and Tyrion's like, oh, as you trampled Willis. And this is where we get that history. He's like, I played that, we kind of mentioned it before, I played that fair and square, hit his breastplate. It was Mace's fault.
It's not my fault. He was too young to be here and on a horse that he couldn't ride.
Yeah, Mace was like the dad getting to sport his kid into like boxing too young, and then
tackle football.
Yeah, got hit in the head 3 times, stunted his growth. That thing. Yeah, exactly. But instead of stunting his growth, he crippled his son. He also mentions here, it's the first time I ever heard of this guy, Leo Longthorn. I'm guessing this is like a Brandon the Builder type, like hero character for the Tyrells.
For sure. Well, or either that or just like he was a young knight, is my guess.
Good as shit. Yeah,
like yeah, exactly. Like came up a prodigy knight.
Yeah, because
the way I was looking at it.
Yeah, the way he's mentioned is Oberyn says the reason that's why he got hurt is because Mace was putting these kids into these jousts too young, trying to get the next Leo Longthorn.
But he might have one.
Yeah, Tyrion's like, he might be better. Loras might be better. Oberyn also in there says, so when Tyrion says like you trampled Willis, Oberyn didn't react like Tyrion expected. He said that he had just had a letter from Willis like a couple months ago talking about horses, like they're like pen pals, which like implies he shares me. I think he even says it like he doesn't hate me. He knows I had nothing to do with
this
it.
Isn't a problem with us.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah. Also, when Tyrion's talking up Loras, Oberyn mocks him as Renly's little rose. He's like, I doubt it. And he's like, he's defeated many good knights. And he's like, you're talking about tournaments. Who's he killed in battle? And Tyrion kind of cheats here. He says Robar Royce and Aemon Kai. Why do I think this is cheating? They're 2 good knights. We know when he kills them, though.
Were they burning already?
No.
I don't remember. Were they on the boat?
They were with Renly when...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he killed...
When Brienne died... Yeah, the whole Brienne, Renly... they escape. They come in trying to kill Brienne. Loras comes in. They're just standing there with their swords out, and he's pissed off and just kills the first 2 people he sees, which is those 2. So they were 2 of Renly's Rainbow Guard. So they were good knights.
I thought those were guys on the Blackwater. That's what...
No, yeah, so exactly. They're standing there. Loras comes in. They're like, "Oh, cool, Loras, you're here," and he's just like, "Ah!" Like Kylo Ren style, like, "Ah, you bitch!" Like they probably weren't even defending themselves.
Body count, yeah, yeah, exactly.
A couple stormtroopers were walking by outside and just turned around.
Exactly, yeah.
He did do well in the Blackwater fighting with the Ghost. Yeah, like, oh, so now you're gonna tell me I'm supposed to believe that he could fight because he was next to a ghost fighting.
Yeah, the men who say he did well in the Blackwater, they're the ones who saw the ghost, right? Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you've just discredited your own story. Good job, man. Yeah. So then he sends him up to Chataya's.
Yep.
He's like, if you need anything, just go there. There's some good stuff for you.
As for the girl Marie,
Dancy or Marie.
Yeah.
So there's actually, I found recently a list of errors that George has made in the books that he told the people who he works with. He works with the people who do the wiki. They help him publish like the world books and stuff. They have a page there where they list all the errors. That way you can knock it. If you see an error, you can go there and see like, oh wait, is this an error or is it on intentional.
Yeah, name fuckery.
Exactly. One of them is on here. Dancy's hair was red when we saw her last time. And George was asked about this at a conference, and he said maybe she dyed it, which is she dyed it from red to yellow. So not that big of a fuck up. The one that's not on here, and I lost my mind about this, is Marie's name is spelled Marie, right? Is that how it's spelled for you guys here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've heard of this. We've heard of a whore in Chataya's twice before, Marei, and I'm pretty sure it's the same person. I doubt there's two Maries, just with those two letters flipped, both in Chataya's. And I'm guessing this is just a typo, but I lost my mind over it. So if anybody knows for sure, if anybody has a newer edition of the book where this is spelled Marei, please let me know. Because I spent like 40 minutes trying to find out what the hell is going on here.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, two fuck ups. So two fuck ups right there on the horse from Chataya's. Again, not very plot critical, but I think I'm gonna start pointing those out because I like those. I like the fact that he's like gone back and corrected all his errors theoretically. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye out of that. But yeah, we're at the end of the chapter.
All right, I'll put that right on the front of my brain.
Tyrion's like, go find one of those whores. Keep him with you at all times.
He pretty much says like you could die at any point here, right? Like he threatens him a little bit.
Yeah, keep the whores with you at all times. Oberyn says why. He's like, you said you're gonna die with the breast in hand, and he just rides off. He's like, I can't wait till Joffrey meets Oberyn. So a little hidden threat there. For sure.
He kind of wants Oberyn to meet Joffrey now. He kind of wants chaos.
Well, yeah, exactly. He's like, all right, fuck this. Yeah.
Not going to be my problem.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah, it was cooler going back through. Like I said, that almost felt like a setup, back to a setup chapter.
I didn't think you guys would like it. I knew I would like it just because of the list of names and castles. And I got to go make a map and everything.
Fun.
I think it's a solid scene in the show, right? Because it's basically word for word, I would say.
I don't think so. I actually think they took like parts. There's definitely parts from earlier and later.
The story of Cersei twisting, playing purple and purple.
It's a way different part of the story. I actually want to talk to you about that in the spoiler section. It's a way different part in the story.
Whatever
than that story has.
All right. So I'm just listening. I'm saying I've heard that story, so it is what it is.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's a lot of dialogue that's the same, but I think it's very crucial. When
I think now that I'm thinking about it, I know what you're talking about.
I think it's really weird as a very first conversation with Tyrion.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's coming over the top, right? Like he's definitely like doing that to humiliate Tyrion almost.
Yeah,
exactly. All right,
or put him in his place.
I won't say anything
I don't know.
more.
It's weird, but. Yeah, I mean, so as far as predictions go, like this is obviously not going to go well with anybody. Like I don't know how it can, right? Like I don't see the mountain even getting killed here or anything. So it's just one of those. This guy's never going to be happy. He's just going to be picking fights everywhere and probably end up dead himself. But
all
right. We'll see Kyle in the next chapter for Arya 7. We'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section.
Wow, Arya's been killing it.
Right, later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you on the next one for Arya 7. Now, on to the spoiler section, Tyrion 5.
Got anything?
I don't have too many hot takes. A couple things kind of came to me. It's been a while since we read, so excuse me for that. Is there something about Tyrion being the thing that would kill his family in this chapter?
Tywin's doom or something like that. Yeah,
Tywin's
because they were
doom.
saying that Tywin had risen too high and the gods sent him Tyrion.
And we know that he's going to send a crossbow
into his chest. He kills Tywin at least. Yeah, that's a good one. I actually didn't have that one written down, but that's a big time.
Wow, I'm
so I did think about that when I was reading. I just didn't write it down.
I mean, is there a bigger spoiler in this chapter than that right there?
I mean, just Oberyn in general. I think he's a cool character. He doesn't last long. He's dead by the end of this book. Tywin's dead by the end of this book, which means Oberyn's dead by the end of this book. It's a big shame. Also, all the Dornish stuff, I've maybe got into it too much, and I don't know how important that's going to be, but like half the next book's in Dorne. Maybe not half, it might be exaggerated, but like a decent chunk, right? Like we pretty much replace all Starks and Lannisters with Dornish and Ironborn for book 4. We get the Greyjoys, and we get Arianne.
You love the Greyjoys too. I don't really care for that. Maybe the second time through, I'll like the Kingsmoot better.
That's why I'm trying to pay more attention, and to the Dornish, because it's the same thing. I was never a huge fan of the Arianne Martell chapters, but like I think hopefully knowing like where things are and the sigils in the different houses will be helpful. But yeah. So also let's right off the bat, Kyle didn't really have any predictions.
I mean, he was kind of right. Like Oberyn's gonna pop off and then die. He's kind of right.
Did he say anything about die? Did he say anything about Oberyn dying?
He said get himself killed. I'm pretty sure.
We should have pressed him more as to like, will the mountain actually be killed? Will Tywin actually like what kind of?
I'm sure we'll have another
option.
one where he actually meets with Tywin, right? And he's like asking for the mountain.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that happens till the battle, but they
got to get the mountain back to King's Landing, right?
So this conversation about Tyrion as a baby
happens in the jail cell when he says he's gonna fight the mountain.
Exactly. So I think at that point it's a big time. I have nothing against you. You're just like a baby. I think you're right. I think it has the same meaning to defend at this point. Yeah, I think it has the same meaning. I don't know if at this point for the most part. I just don't think it's nearly as obvious. So like when you were pushing on it, I was like, yeah, I see it both ways. I think you're right. I just didn't want to be like, for sure.
I might have.
It might be that when Tyrion's about to go to battle, Oberyn brings it back up. You know what I mean? Like he might call back to this story. So I didn't want to linger on it too much, but I don't know for sure because I
might have unconsciously thought of the show and how he was kind of ready to defend him. Where here he's not really defending him. He's just kind of like I think it's just kind of like a nice story for him. Like, hey, look, you're a regular fucking person to me, type of thing.
I wish I would have reread the part between Oberyn and Tyrion right before the battle, but I feel like this conversation fits better there. It's a great, like in the show, that's one of the best scenes in the show is like that Oberyn Tyrion conversation. He's like, I will be your champion. That look on Tyrion's face, he's like about to like cry, like he's like all choked up. It's such a great scene.
Like, oh my God, you're like the last person I have. Jaime said no. Bronn says no.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the great scenes like that. Maybe when we get in the books, we'll see that Oberyn has a pretty cool callback.
Yeah.
But if not, then I think that's a good change by the show. It fits better later on.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
I think the way Oberyn is introduced in the show is a little bit more on character. He's not actually with the group. Yeah. He's already at the brothel. And maybe has been in King's Landing for how many days, just kind of running around. There's a little mystery there.
Well, he gets into trouble right away, right? Because he hears the Lannisters whistling Rains of Castamere. He walks in. There's two of them there, and they're like, "What are you doing with this guy? He deserves a goat or something like that." And he stabs a guy in the hand, and the other guy goes for a sword. And he's like, "What are you gonna do if I take the blade out?"
I'm saying that's the first we saw him. He could have been running around brothel to brothel for like a week or like.
My point is, he immediately gets into trouble, so I don't think he was there too long before.
Well, what was he supposed to do on film? Just always be a nice guy, or just be walking around town?
I know what you're saying. What else do I have? I mean, I don't know how much we're going to see Oberyn, right? Because we're only really going to see him probably in Tyrion point of views from here until the battle. Maybe Sansa a little bit, but yeah, probably mostly through Tyrion's eyes. The last thing I had was just the future of Oberyn, which isn't much, right? He doesn't have much of a future.
No. He's gonna try to get his vengeance with defending Tyrion. I don't know if it's really about defending Tyrion. That's the one thing. The show might make it seem like he's defending Tyrion a little bit more, and it's really for the vengeance, which is why he dances around at the end.
I think they made that clear.
I don't know.
The show makes it clear because he says, like, everything, like, in that scene with Tyrion, he says, like, everything I want. Like, why did I come to your stinking city? I want vengeance. You know that's all I want. And everything I want is here. Okay. I'll be your champion.
Maybe I haven't seen it in a while.
I'm pretty sure he like says like I'm here for me too, but I mean he does also tell a story about Tyrion. He's like, you're just a baby, like who gives a fuck? Like I get that he also has seen them
and your family. Well, it actually makes more sense a little bit there too because it shows like your family just hates you for being you.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes that's
not
what you
because you killed Joffrey.
You said that's why it makes sense later on.
Yeah, I'm kind of flip flopping.
I agree with that. I think it makes sense a little later on because at that point, Oberyn has seen them. He's seen Cersei and Tywin just shit on Tyrion, put him up for trial for something. I don't know if he knows, but he might assume that, especially after like the fall.
Oh, I got another comment. I got another comment about this chapter. So it goes into him being like this master of poisoner deal, and we know that Joffrey's about to get poisoned. Before that, like, do you think Kyle's going to be like, Oberyn did it type of thing?
I think there's a chapter where, because Jaime's back in King's Landing by then, and I think there's a part where he's talking with all the Kingsguard about like who could have done this, and I think Oberyn's a suspect because of that.
I'm saying, like, right as it happens, Joffrey's choking at his throat. Does he go, oh, Oberyn's here, the master of poison. He killed
Does
Joffrey.
who do that? Does who think that?
Kyle's prediction.
Maybe. That's a good point. That's a good idea, because it probably ends right after that chapter. He's a good probably first suspect. Yeah, it's a good point. Along those lines, the fan theory is that if Tyrion wouldn't have killed Tywin, he was already going to die because Oberyn poisoned him before Oberyn died.
That's why he was shitting on the...
That's why he was shitting so much, and that's why actually during Tywin's funeral scene, like they all mention that the body really, really stinks, like so bad that people are like running out of like the Tyrells or Tommen almost Tommen might throw up. Tommen might even almost throw up because it smells so bad.
I don't remember that one. I don't know how I feel about that. Like Oberyn's a badass dude to be like poisoning people.
I know it is a woman's weapon, but it's one of those things where like Dorne.
It's just a coward's weapon. Like I don't even want to think about it as a woman's. It's just cowardly.
Yeah, but I could see Dorne being like, get it done, get the job done anyway. You need to, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of
just be assassin. Just go be an assassin.
I mean, we know he poisoned the mountain. That's not in doubt, right?
Yeah, I guess not. His thing's laced.
Which is like, I was kind of arguing against him being the Red Viper for like actually poisoning that guy. But like I said, I think he actually poisoned that guy. It's almost for sure he poisoned the mountain. So yeah, it's like his MO. Like it makes sense.
It's his calling
unless
card.
he adopted it just because everyone thought it, right? Like if everyone thinks it, might as well. You know what I mean? So,
or if he hated the mountain so much that he actually was going to do it this time, just in case he didn't win, he could still maybe get a cut and end up killing him.
Sure, but I don't know. Maybe you're going to dispute this, but I say to that point, if he wouldn't dispute using poison on the mountain, he wouldn't dispute using poison on Tywin.
No, sure.
He knew he was never going to get a duel face-to-face with Tywin. Like, that's not happening. Tywin's not going to be in any trial by combats.
How long has this poison been in Tywin's system? If he died, when did he poison him?
I don't think I've ever reread the books with that in mind. And again, it's one of those theories that I think is really interesting. But at the end of the day, doesn't amount to anything. Oberyn and Tywin are both dead. Will we ever learn? Probably not. Does it change the story at all? At this point, no. They're both dead. So I think it's really interesting.
I'm just thinking of,
let's keep an eye out for
ghost...
Yeah. Let's keep an eye out for it. But again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Was it like a month-long poison? Well,
that's the other thing, is I think Pycelle at one point during Tyrion's trial, which again is in the midst of all this, Pycelle, one of the things he testifies of against Tyrion is, he came and gave me the Dorne letters, he stole all my poisons. And they say, okay, we'll list off the poisons. And there's like 5 that he lists off and starts giving like explanations. He's like, the Strangler, which does this and chokes. And he's like, and this one, which disrupts the bowels and makes a man die slowly from shitting out his insides or something like that. And after a few, they're like, okay, hurry up. Just name the poisons. We don't care what they do anymore. And that's why people say, like, it's interesting that one of the ones mentioned is the one that's like, shit yourself to death.
Why would you mention that one if it wasn't being used for a guy that dies on the toilet?
And again, this is one of those things where I've read the theory on Reddit. I might have seen a YouTube video. And when you read the theory and when you see the video and it's only quotes that go towards the theory back to back, they're pretty convincing. I'm saying to you now, let's keep an eye out for it as we get into that section of the book and see what we think at the end. But I think it's an interesting... Again, doesn't matter towards the story either way. They're already both dead.
It all matters, Nelson.
It all matters.
You're using my line.
But interesting thing to think about. So I don't have anything else to go on. Sure. No need to linger. We'll see you guys in the next one. And we'll see you guys in the next one for Aria 5. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Like, subscribe. Thanks for listening.